Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a flight to Medellin?
Yep.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to The Global Girlfriend. My name's Morgan,
And my name's Brianna.
and we're your host of the Global Girlfriend podcast that is all about travel, living internationally, and all the stories, connection, and whatnot that goes into that. We're super excited about today's episode as we have a very dear friend of mine on here. Her name is Lauren. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi,
Hello,
Lauren.
thank you for having me. I'm so honored you guys asked me to be a guest.
Oh, well, we're so honored to have you. And just to give a little briefing of like what this episode's going to be about and also just like how Lauren and I met. Um, Today's episode is the realities of relocating. Lauren is an absolute expert. She'll share her story, the realities, the beautiful things of her journey of having multiple moments of her life relocating all over the world. Um, and she'll get into that here in just a bit. And just to share how Lauren and I met, we met in good old Madrid back in the day. Love it. We were both teachers in a town called Al Javier, which means isolated and desolate.
Oh,
And
In
so we really,
Arabic.
yeah. In Arabic, I did not clarify. And so we really bonded in this very isolated town. And Lauren, if you've like heard some of our other podcasts about kindness, I might have mentioned friends who, when I first moved to Madrid, welcomed me into their home, didn't know me. They're like, you can stay with me for a week. And Lauren was one of those friends who opened her home and has just been such a loving and giving friend. And she has the best memory and like remembers like all these details that you share with her. So she's such a dear friend to me and so happy to have you on here.
Oh, you are so sweet.
Okay. You're the best. Okay, so like I said, this is the realities of relocating, the beautiful, the tough parts. Can you maybe just share a little bit about you for the audience and also maybe just your timeline of where you relocated and what part of your life that's been?
Yeah. So I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and really my whole family has always been travelers. You know, like my grandparents, all my cousins. My parents took my brother and I on all kinds of adventures. Some international when we got a little older, but really all over the states, all over Colorado. So I kind of had the travel bug bite pretty early with my upbringing. But then I relocated to Des Moines, Iowa for college. Go Bulldogs. I went to Drake, and Drake is amazing. And they are really passionate about people studying abroad. So they encourage it in like all different forms. So I actually technically did two. I did a May term, so I did a full month of May in Uganda after my freshman year, and then I did a full semester in Prague, Czech Republic, my sophomore year. And Prague is really where I fell in love with all things travel and all things just living internationally. It really just awakened like my curiosity, and still is one of my favorite cities like for that reason. And because of Prague, I was itching to go back after I graduated, like not necessarily to Prague, but just back in the international space, which led me to teach English in Spain, where I met Morgan, in Madrid.
Yes.
And then I stayed a second year, but not in Madrid. I moved to Sevilla in the south, which was absolutely amazing. And my whole Spanish experience in both of those cities, I really just like lived my best expat life. But really, towards the end, I would say I was kind of like craving some stability, probably specifically some financial stability. There's
Yeah. Anyone who teaches in Spain is like, I feel ya.
yeah, it
been
is.
there.
It's tough out
Mhm.
there. And so at that point, I, kind of with a broken heart, decided to go back to the US, but really turn into focusing on my career. My time in Spain really was focusing on like self growth and, learning like or improving my Spanish and just exploring the world. But I was like, okay, now I need some stability, specifically financially. And then I also do have a desire to grow a career, and ended up becoming a corporate girly and moving to Portland, Oregon for 6 years. And
Mhm.
loved it there. It was very grounding for me. And that brought me actually back here. I've been with the same job since, and they relocated me to London so recently. So it's kind of really been a full circle situation where my putting my career first, they have now put like my interests first, by putting me back where I belong and where I thrive, which is abroad.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I like I know these because we're friends and you've shared this, but I love to hear it all broken down because it really is inspiring to see these chapters and how your life has just unfolded.
Yeah.
It's an incredible journey, and I think for so many people, like, going to one of those places is a dream, and the fact that you sort of just bounced from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, and now you're in London, like, that's really, really cool. I think you've inspired me. I feel like we need to do an episode called Broken Abroad, because I think we're
For
Yeah,
real.
we do. We do.
because I think we've all been there, and that's sort of it's sometimes people see our lives abroad and they just assume we're these ballers going on all these trips, and that's not true at all. So I thank you for your honesty, because I feel like
Yeah.
not a lot of people talk about that side of the journey. But that honestly, like, it's incredible. You've done so many things. Can you tell us a little bit about, so if anyone's lived abroad, we know that like literally the practical side of it can be chaos, right? Like
Yeah.
visas,
Yeah.
finding a house, just all of those tiny details can be so exhausting. And yet you've lived in so many places. What is your approach like to the practical side of relocating? Obviously, you've done it many times, and you don't let that stop you. So what's your approach to the practical side of relocating?
Yeah, I mean, I
Great
think
question.
that it is a really great question, and I think it really depends on the is situation. So, like you mentioned, Pete, like finding a house, and Morgan knows as well, as she alluded to earlier in the episode. Piso hunting in Madrid is not for the faint of heart. It is like it is a dog eat dog world out there.
It will break you.
It will break you and destroy you down like to your bones. And London also has its own like challenges with that. Like London is very much like I mean they just passed some laws, so some of this is changing, but like you like bid for like rent, like you can outbid people, so like put in like over asking price for just rent, and you kind of like need like a real estate agent. It's crazy. It's like buying a
That feels
house.
criminal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So I think
That
for is something like that, you really just have to be very patient and give yourself grace, because especially with like not having, it's like the hierarchy of needs. Like when your basic like shelter is not met, like you are just so vulnerable, and it's really overwhelming. And I think it's just like you have to give yourself grace, and no matter how much like you try to organize, like it's there's not much you can do about it. So I think it's kind of hard to give a direct answer to your question. It's a
Yeah.
very uh, multifaceted like question, but I would
yeah.
say like really just remember to be kind to yourself, and like get a coffee, like relax. It's fine. You'll figure
Yeah.
it out. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's I feel like that's really good advice. And so, would you say that like no matter like if you do all this research beforehand, like do you think that like most of like you just have to get on the ground there and then just figure it out, or how would you feel how like in that regard?
Okay, so I have mixed feelings about this. I would say yes, do your research for sure, but I think there's also like some beauty in just winging it. Because like, okay, you guys know Murphy's Law. Like, if something bad will happen, like, or something bad can happen, it will. It's like
Yeah.
I think there's a Murphy's second law, which is like if something bad like can happen, it will. And if you're abroad, it's heightened. Like as soon as your plane crosses an international border,
Yeah.
like it will go wrong. Because like you can do so much research, but it at the end of the day, like embassies have delays, there's shipping delays, and you kind of like can't
Hmm.
fix it in the US. Like abroad, there's just way less like customer service and there's more like rigidity to processes abroad. And they just do not act with like the urgency that I think we kind of do in North America.
Yeah, I feel like we totally get
A
that.
100%, and I can't count the amount of times, like, I find, like, setting up bank accounts in foreign countries is something that stresses me out to no end, and, like, just the snail's pace at which things happen, and so I've been, sitting
Yes.
at the bank, and I've been sitting there for an hour and 20 minutes waiting for them to call my name, and I'm like, "Okay, Brianna, just remember, like, you get to live in this beautiful place, and this hour and 20 minutes is, like, the tax that you're paying, for
Yep.
being able to live this amazing life." But like you do have to remind yourself of that because the kind of like life maintenance stuff can be so daunting and boring and stressful.
Totally. And I think to your point, Brianna, it's like eh, setting up a bank account is so hard, but you also like nothing's straightforward. You need to like have a bank account in order to like get an apartment, but you can't get an apartment unless you can like pay from your bank account. It's like this chicken or the egg situation that like constantly is happening. And it's like no
Oh
matter
my
what you
gosh.
do, it's just like you're constantly playing like logistical chess.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's so true though.
So it is. So do you feel like so I feel like obviously like here you are, you're in London. You have like so much experience and even just like modern day, you're continually learning. But like have you felt a shift in like these logistics and all these, things that go into it from your 20s to your 30s?
I would say yes, because I think my priorities have shifted. Like when I moved to Spain in my 20s, like I moved with like a couple of suitcases and a dream and like had nothing
Yeah.
else. I was like only looking to like rent a room. Like I just had like far less like needs, if you will. Like I was like, whatever. Like I only need to rent a room in an apartment and I don't really know if I care where it is as long as it's like safe and clean. Versus like now in my 30s, my this relocation to London has been much more of like a production. It's like, okay, now I'm shipping furniture. I'm like truly uprooting my life. I'm like having to like change all of my meetings to be like in London time zone, not like Pacific Standard Time. Um,
Yeah.
and looking for an apartment, I'm like, okay, I actually do care about the neighborhood I'm in, and not only do I care about the neighborhood, I also need it to be close to the tube station, and I need it to like I want to be a block away from a coffee shop. I just have like much more like on my requirement list, I would say, like
Yeah.
in my 30s, because I really feel like it's just very important to like build an area that you build a home and like build like some place that feels like home and feels comfortable to you so you can like rest and recharge and go out and just, give your all to your job and your relationships.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think we can totally relate to that. And sort of on that note, like, can you talk about the emotional side, I think, also of relocating? Because when you are starting over, so many times you have to make all new friends, you have to find a new community. What has that how do you manage that? Because that can be quite a daunting situation and you've done it so many times.
Yeah, it is very daunting. I would say like a tip there is like you just have to be vulnerable. Like say yes to people when they ask you to go to dinner. Like you have to go out on a limb to ask if like, hey, do you want to like go to this free concert in the park with me? Just you have to try to like build your community. But I actually think that connecting with people and building that community really is like one of my favorite parts of like getting to live abroad. Because you kind of just like develop these really like deep and unwavering bonds with people that you live abroad with. Like you just grow to become kind of like family like really quickly, like probably more quickly than you otherwise would if you were in your home country. And I think those friendships are just like so deep and so special because like you just bond over like very important things, and for lack of a better term, like you're kind of trauma bonded with people
Yeah.
because you're going through like such a hard time. And it's in general it is so hard to build community, but it's very important.
Okay, Lauren, I mean, you're so right. Like, I feel like even with our friendship, like, we just have such a bond from our time living abroad. We don't like, even though I'd love to like catch up on a more regular basis, I feel like we do a phone call on your birthday like every year.
And it's like that's
and
all you
like
need because I'm like I never question where our
and like
friendship stands.
no, I'm just like I love Lauren so much, and I know how much like she loves me, and it just is one of those things, and it's super special. So love that.
That is so beautiful. Can we
Okay.
talk about the flip side of that though? In that it is so wonderful to meet people and build a community, but all of us have moved to many places multiple times. What about the goodbyes? Do you find saying goodbye difficult if you sort of uproot your life every few years? Have you found a way to manage that in a healthy way? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, this you really just like hit on something that it is a really harsh reality of building life abroad. It is really difficult to say bye to people, and in a way, I almost wish I could say it gets easier, but it doesn't. I think something that like really helps me is like to always be planning the next time I'm going to see them. It's like, okay, great. Like I had this trip in March with my friends. We're all meeting in New York, and that's great. Now I like know when I'm going to see them again. And so to just like constantly like putting like new things on the calendar to like maintain those relationships, I think is like really easy. But unfortunately, that's kind of the price you pay for knowing and loving people in all corners of the world.
Yeah, I mean, that was beautifully put and like so quotable. It's tough. Like, and your heart's in just so many places and with so many
Yeah.
people. And so like, okay, so we've talked about these like beautiful like building connections, building these really like strong bonded relationships. We talked about like the saying goodbyes. But what about that like in between phase? Like what about when you're in a place, like say you were just in Portland and you knew you were kind of wrapping things up, preparing to go to London. Like what is that time like for you?
Yeah. I mean, there's no time to rest, Morgan. I'm just kidding. But it's
Oh
like
yeah.
that time,
You're packing
that
boxes.
time when you're technically like moved or but like not settled. It's like
Yeah.
I I always think of it as like my like clothes or like my furniture's here, but like my mind is still in customs. Like there's like a disconnect of like reality. And that is
Mhm.
actually kind of when I think the true journey like of being abroad like actually begins, is like in that in between. Because like once you're past like all of the visa chaos and like the moving like drama, then you're able to like start like truly on your journey. And it's actually like, do you guys know this theory of the cultural adaptation roller coaster? Have you heard of this?
No, what is it? Tell
No.
us.
Um,
No, enlighten us.
so it's like this like scientific theory, or like I don't know if that's the specific phrasing, but it's like anthropologists basically created this metaphor to describe the psychological process of people who move abroad and like highs and lows that they experience. So it's their metaphor is a roller coaster called the cultural adaptation roller coaster, and it's a ride that nobody warns you about. So truly like a roller coaster, like you build up, and like that first phase is like honeymoon. And this is like euphoric. Like we love everything. Like We love siesta culture. We love croissants. We love accents. We love
Mhm.
afternoon tea. Um, but just like a roller coaster,
Yes.
you can go really like far down really quickly into a rut. And like in that culture shock rut, differences start to like become like more apparent. And that leads to a period of like frustration and anxiety. Even depression can set in, and like you often feel isolated and really overwhelmed, especially when you're like abroad and like away from all of your comforts and all of your people. Luckily, like a roller coaster, you do come out of that and go into an adjustment period, which is like a gradual process of learning how to cope with and navigate like the culture that you're in. And then finally it kind of plateaus
Mhm.
out in an integration period, which is like a state where individuals feel like super comfortable and really start to have like a sense of belonging in like the culture that they have like moved to. um, so this whole thing's like a cycle, right? And I always just try to remember that I will experience it. It's not if, it's when. Like anyone who moves abroad like goes through this,
Yeah.
whether they know it or not. And I try to be conscious of I'm going through this cycle. I try to identify like where I am in it and then be like, okay, Lauren, it's fine. Like this is just part of it. I'm not failing right now. Like this is just me adapting.
I'm so glad you shared that because I feel like even now reflecting on my own international journey, I can think back to like specific days in my life when I've been in new places and I'm like, "Oh, that was a top of the roller coaster day. Oh, and that was a bottom of the roller coaster day." Like
Totally.
it's just so accurate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely
Can you tell
is.
us a little bit about this move to London? Like, how has this move to London maybe been different from the moves that you have done in your 20s? And like, are you a Londoner for life now? Is this a permanent move?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of alluded to this earlier. Like, it's definitely been like very different. I think like when I moved to Spain, that was my priority was like travel and vibes. Like
Yeah.
I was like I had no passion for teaching, but that was just like the way that I was able to live abroad. And now
Yeah.
my move to London is definitely more like career driven. That's like
Yep.
been, my priority there. Um so I think like there's also I think more of like a permanence feeling because I am building a true career here versus like
Yeah.
Spain. I don't want to be a teacher. I just am doing this for the time being. So definitely a priority shift, but I it's funny that you ask if I'm a Londoner for life because I've had a couple people ask me this in the last like week, and I
Okay.
just moved here a couple months ago, so it feels like
Oh,
very.
oh,
I'm like I don't even know. Like I'm still fresh. Like I'm still riding that
yeah.
honeymoon phase of
Yeah.
like the roller coaster. But
Yeah.
so far, I love the lifestyle. Like I think more in this trip versus other ones, I'm like chasing like little luxuries. Like I really love like walkable communities. Like I love public transportation. Like I love I have a latte habit that is fortunately more affordable here in the UK than it is in the US. So like these are like
Yeah.
lifestyle choices that I'm chasing versus like back in my 20s I was just chasing adventure. Um but so I mean it changes every day, but I think at this point I'm feeling like I don't know that I could go back because I just don't know where I would go, where I could have the same quality of life that London is currently bringing me.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a beautiful place to be in. Like, so, I mean, it being this place that feels like, well, it obviously is your home right now, and it feels like it could be your home for a really long time. But you're such an open person, so I feel like you're always open to see what life brings you. But I'm so happy that life has brought you to London because I can like I
Yeah.
see you there.
So, what I'm really curious about is you've moved to London. It feels more like home. You have your furniture. Congratulations. I feel like owning furniture
I
as a person
actually
who lives
don't have my
abroad.
furniture yet. So
Oh, okay. Well,
that's a whole situation I didn't even go into, but I'm half settled.
It's
It's
on
still
the
on the
way.
way. I can't
Is it on the
even.
way?
It is, yeah.
Flip,
But um, anyway,
flip.
okay, we are manifesting your furniture arriving in
yes,
London. And first of all, may I just say congratulations on owning furniture, because I feel like for women who live internationally, like every time you move to a new house, you have a new kitchen table. Like I've had so many beds between the ages
yeah.
of, over the last 15 years, right? So congratulations on owning your own furniture. That's a big step in your stable life, and I really hope that it makes its way to you. But on the note of stability, um, you're in London, you've moved for a career, things are feeling a bit more stable. Do you still have that wild, crazy travel side of you?
110%. Yes,
Nice.
I think, and that is like, that's like
110.
really why, like, what pushed me over the edge to like make the move here, because I'm like, London, I think, is one of the best, if not the best, like home bases for travel, like in the world. I mean, there's so much to see in the UK, but there's like 6 airports in London. You can fly like so many places direct and like pretty affordable. There's the international train station,
Yeah.
so you can like get to Paris in 2 hours via train, get to Amsterdam in like four, Brussels, and there's
That's
just
Amazing.
amazing.
so much to see and so much to do. So I do think like you can have both stability and still have wanderlust. It's just about like prioritizing both.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful place to be in where you can have both of those.
Totally.
That's like the best of both worlds. Um, do you by chance like in your mind right now, because I feel like you've like traveled to an insane amount of countries. Um, do you by chance have that number? Like how many countries have you been to?
I have like a rough number. I think I'm at like, I'm in the high 50s. It's like 56 or 57, something in there.
Oh,
That honestly is
that is
pretty
impressive.
I'm
incredible.
I'm
Amazing.
very fortunate, but a lot of them are in Europe, and because I've gotten to spend so much time in Europe, it's really easy to pop around. But I do have a lot of
Yeah.
desire to, spend more time on different continents.
That is
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
awesome.
yeah.
And I mean, I hope our paths cross on different continents and we know you're going to get there. What
Yes.
what
Yeah.
is so I think what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is on the fence about whether or not they should relocate in their 30s?
Well, if someone's on the fence, I am going to tell them to take the jump because they won't regret it. But okay, this is more than one piece of advice, but I would say
Great.
hack less. You really like don't need as much as you think. I've kind of alluded to my whole furniture saga, and in a way, I'm kind of like, I wish I wouldn't have shipped at least as much furniture. Maybe I would have just less of that in Portland. But and then I would say to not like compare yourself. I think everyone's life is different, and everyone's like relocation stories are different too. My dear friend Morgan always reminds me that comparison is the thief of joy.
Mhm.
So just never compare yourself. Um, and
True.
then I think probably the most crucial piece is to try like work on building a life, not just a new address.
I love that.
Ooh,
That's
that's
beautiful.
good. Okay. That is essential. Okay, love that. So how would you say to someone like, how do you know when it's time to either move again or to
Yeah,
stay
I think
somewhere?
that's really just like a gut feeling. Um, I mean, if you're feeling like stuck, like for
Yeah.
me, when I was in Portland, like nothing was like wrong, but I was definitely feeling like there was nothing really left for me there.
Mhm.
So I kind of was like, it's time to go.
Hmm.
Like, if you're not feeling super inspired or challenged or fulfilled like every single day, like, then maybe it's time for a change. But if you are, like, stay put and continue to thrive where you are.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Great. You have
That's beautiful.
yeah. Trust your
And
gut.
Trust your gut.
do you have like a moment, or have you had an experience so far? You mentioned that, you're on the high of your roller coaster in London. Has there been a moment in London where you've sort of taken a step back and been like, yes, this is all worth it. I've made the right choice?
I think it's like just, I don't know if there's like one specific moment that I can pinpoint, but I think it's like the general spontaneity of like living abroad, like specifically in London. Someone will look at you in the eyes and ask you something insane like, do you want to go to Paris this weekend? And like, it's Thursday, so they mean like tomorrow. And like, they're serious, A, and like B, like that's doable. And like you can just do that. And so like
Was may I ask, was that Demi who asked that?
I don't think Demi specifically
Because
asked that, but that does sound like a very Demi thing to do. And I would.
that's one of our friends who's in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Those spontaneous, like almost absurd moments, but they're like also absolute
Like
reality.
reality, but it's just like something crazy like, yeah, do you want to go to Paris like tomorrow? And it's like, sure, like I'll book the train, you book the hotel, like let's go.
And truly, like, that's what makes this life so beautiful, and I'm so glad that we've all,
Totally.
like, chosen to embrace that side of, I don't know. I think we've all made great choices with our lives, guys.
Agree.
Um, this has been, like, such a great chat. I feel like you speak so well to the international experience. I feel like you've handled all of your many different moves with, like, so much grace, and I feel like we've learned so much from you, from your journey. Lauren, do you share your life on the internet if people have questions for you, or?
I do. I would say I am bad at posting, but I'm good at posting stories. So if you
Okay,
follow me, don't
nice.
expect too many posts, but you will see lots of stories. So
All right,
I
cool.
do.
And if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram. I don't post on TikTok, but if I do scroll on TikTok, so love that. But Instagram, my handle is Lauren Riles, LaurenRiles.
Amazing. We will definitely tag you in our stuff. Morgan, where can people find us on the internet?
Yes, okay. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok at The Global Girlfriend, or take a little look see at our website, theglobalgirlfriend.com. We'd love to hear from you. Love any questions you have, any stories you want to share. We'd love to connect. And so thankful to have Lauren on our pod today. Like truly just such a wealth of knowledge, and like it's so inspiring.
Yes, thank you
Absolutely.
so much for being here, Lauren. This has been so much fun. And we'll see all you guys next week.
Thanks for having
Bye.
me. Bye.